Fumbling. We've all been there. You catch feelings, they like you back, and then it all goes wrong. The first time I fumbled a girl, I was in 8th grade. I had a couple classes with this girl, and we'd talk a lot in class and FaceTime each other when we got home from school. It got to the point where her friends were teasing us and shipping us together, but I was 14, and like most 14-year-olds, I had no clue what I was doing. You see, we both came from immigrant families where dating at that age was frowned upon, and it's not like we could drive either, so we couldn't even meet in public. I know a lot of you guys can relate to this struggle. The best we could do out of school was hang out at volunteer events for NHS, and that's kind of what that year was for me, just kind of having a flirty talking stage with no real progress happening. And then the summer after 8th grade, I went to India to visit my grandparents, and they didn't have Wi-Fi at their house. So for that entire summer, I couldn't communicate with anyone back home, especially not the girl. So any chance of advancing the relationship over break was completely gone. As a side note, it was really weird not having Wi-Fi every time I visited India as a kid, because I would miss out on the songs and memes that came out over summer and would have like a 2-week period after I got home where I had to educate myself. I specifically remember the year I missed out on the "What are those" meme, and when I got home in August, all my friends were roasting my shoes and I had no clue what they were talking about. Anyways, not being able to communicate with the girl over summer break cost me everything, because when I returned, I found out that she had started dating someone else over this summer. And I'm not gonna lie, bro, at first it stung a little bit, but it didn't hurt too bad because we were going to different high schools, so I didn't have to see her next year and I could start afresh. But 9th grade wasn't exactly a walk in the park, because that's when the double fumble happened. An incident so influential on my life that I still think about it on probably a weekly basis. One day I was sitting with my friends at lunch when two girls, Tiana and Amy, approached us. Tiana took violin classes from one of my friend's dads, so they already knew each other, and I brought up how I played violin as well. Later that evening, I got texts from both Tiana and Amy because they both asked for my number from my friend. Now, Tiana and Amy were best friends. Like, every time I'd see them at school, they were together. So in hindsight, it was kind of weird that they both wanted my number, but ignoring red flags is just a part of being an adolescent, and I thought nothing of it. Over the next couple weeks, they would show up to my lunch table every day, and after school, I'd hop on a group call with the two of them and talk. And then I started noticing something weird happening. They started calling me individually, and it was clear that they both liked me, but then on these one-on-one calls, they started trash talking the other one. And remember, these are supposedly best friends. Now, I was getting a little freaked out, but I did like Tiana back, and I was trying to find a way to get with her without hurting Amy's feelings, but obviously we were never gonna make that work, so we just kind of stuck with our current predicament, and I was getting more and more uncomfortable with each passing day. I was afraid I had dug myself into a hole I couldn't get out of, and I was genuinely in shock at how fake Tiana and Amy's friendship was. I mean, seriously, how do you go to school for 8 hours and pretend to be someone's best friend only to immediately talk trash about them as soon as you get home? I honestly had no clue what to do, but then in March 2020, I was saved. Now, I think we can all agree that that was an awful time, but since we were stuck inside, it completely bailed me out because I didn't have to see Tiana or Amy anymore. In fact, both of them moved away the year after, so I haven't seen them since. Okay, so I just checked their Instagrams, and apparently they both go to my college. So how about this? If this video gets 10,000 likes, I'll make a follow-up video confronting them about what happened in high school. Now let me tell you about the ice cream fumble, aka my most recent fumble. It's not a fumble in the most traditional sense, but the story's still funny, so I figured I'd tell it to you. It happened about 2 months ago. I asked a girl out from my college on an ice cream date. You know, something chill, something cute, a nice way to spend the afternoon. I figured I'd do something nice for her, so I didn't take her to Cold Stone or Brahms or Baskin Robbins. I researched a nice ice cream spot near her apartment, and I figured it'd be worth spending a little extra for the experience. I pick her up and we head over, and the date starts out pretty great. On the drive over, we exchange stories about our background backgrounds and start cracking jokes and opening up. Eventually we get to the shop and order a small cone each, and I didn't even look at the prices because I've never spent more than like $7 on ice cream in my life. And then the server rings me up. "Sir, your total will be $14. Excuse, what? $14 for 2 small cones. On top of that, he turns around the iPad and of course, there's a tipping option. I'm supposed to tip you for scooping ice cream into a cone. Every bone in my body wanted me to press no tip. Pause. But I was on a first date with a girl I had just met and not tipping would probably be a bad look, so of course I pressed 20% as my conscience suffered. Now you're probably wondering, how was the ice cream? It was okay, but definitely not worth $17. So I was in a bit of a bad mood after overpaying for mediocre ice cream, but I figured it wasn't worth ruining the rest of the date, so we sat outside and resumed our conversation. She actually was telling me a really interesting story about how her roommate was legitimately crazy, but it was hard to focus because 5 minutes in, the ice cream in my cone started melting and dripping down my hand, and of course I forgot to get napkins, so now I'm trying to focus on her story while my hand is turning into a sticky chocolatey mess. I was trying to find a moment to excuse myself to wash my hands, but her story was so crazy and had no breaks in it, so I was in an awkward situation. Eventually I couldn't take it anymore, so I cut her off mid-sentence and said, "I need to wash my hands," and after that, the vibe was off. I think she took my distraction for the melted ice cream as disinterest in her story, so she was less enthusiastic when I got back from cleaning off the ice cream. I think we both understood the situation, so eventually I just dropped her back at her apartment. The funniest thing is, I think she might watch my videos, so if you're out there, I'm down to run it back, but let's try Dairy Queen this time. Listen, in the wise words of Mahatma Gandhi, it is better to have fumbled a baddie than to have never tried at all. Yes, fumbling hurts, but I've never regretted fumbling a girl. It's inevitable. If you play a game long enough, you're gonna lose. I never stay up at night thinking about the girls that I fumbled, but I do stay up at night thinking about the girls that I never even asked in the first place. As humans, we're hardwired to hate the unknown. It's why we hate cliffhangers at the end of stories, and there's no bigger cliffhanger than not asking out that one person when you know you should. I still think about that girl at Walmart that I didn't ask out when I was 16 because my brother was with me and I was afraid he was gonna roast me if I got rejected. To me, that is way worse than having $17 sticky ice cream on your hands. This may seem like a reoccurring theme on my channel, but I think it's important for me to reiterate. Take the shot, because the pain of rejection weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. And if we're thinking in football terms, I think fumbling the ball is better than kneeling it out every play, because at least when you fumble, you have a chance to pick it back up and score a touchdown. And also follow me on Instagram. I'm posting there once we hit 50,000 subscribers.